by General Manager Brett Veach, kind of lay things out of what's going to happen over the next 48 hours. But let's start this way. I remember 4 years ago in this facility, Matt, and there were thousands of fans as far as you could see behind me. And on that night, the Chiefs made an aggressive trade to go up to the 10th pick. And they selected Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech as the choice in that draft. Everything changed from that night on, including affecting tonight.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good, isn't he? Look at his first 46 career starts. No quarterback has more touchdown passes, passing yards, or a higher passer rating through 46 career starts than Patrick Mahomes. I'm pretty glad that Chiefs made that trade back in 2017. And the beauty of it is you think about this draft, the top of this draft, what you'll see in the next couple hours is all these teams fighting, trying to find their guy, their franchise quarterback. We have that guy. We don't have to worry about that. It's a beautiful thing. Another thing is the Chiefs, because of what they've done in the trade market and also free agency, they've set themselves up where they don't have to address a glaring need early on in this draft. They can follow their board, take the best player available at each spot. That's what the good teams do. Of course, there's areas the Chiefs could add some depth, but they don't have to worry about filling a spot on day two. So it's an exciting thing. The Chiefs will get better this weekend. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
We also want you to get involved in the show tonight. We're going to have a series of polls that you can go to Chiefs.com/poll to vote. We'll get to that in a second. But you mentioned the trades and the work in the offseason. The draft actually started last Friday afternoon because, yep, all your phones were blowing up. Everybody's getting pinged. Here come the alerts because the Chiefs added a left tackle to their roster. Not only a left tackle, a two-time Pro Bowl left tackle.
An exceptional left tackle. And Brett Veach went out there and didn't just get a good player to fill the left tackle void left by Eric Fisher, a great player, a great young player in Orlando Brown Jr. This is a huge deal. I recall when I found out about the news, I jumped out of my chair and texted you immediately. Absolutely. I think it was a alert emoji, I think it was. You responded with a hammer emoji. We're both very excited, and for good reason. Orlando has not missed a snap in 2 straight seasons. After taking over at left tackle in week 9 of last year, he didn't allow a single sack or quarterback hit. Pretty impressive stuff there. And also Pro Football Focus, since 2018, ranks him as the 5th most valuable offensive tackle in all of pro football. This guy is a star, and the beauty of it, Mitch, 24 years old, he's only going to get better.
Put the hammer down indeed. Let's bring him in now, the Chiefs' newest addition to the roster and the starting left tackle. And you Oklahoma Sooner fans that are Chiefs fans go, oh yeah, we remember him well. Orlando Brown Jr., welcome for sure officially now to the Chiefs Kingdom.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you guys. Like I said before, I'm so happy to be here. Man, this is a great organization. I can't wait to win so many games and work with the guys.
I want to ask you just about the level of excitement here. There's some, because one, you get to play your dream position, but two, you get to be with this organization and Patrick Mahomes. What does that mean to you?
Man, it means so much. You know, obviously to have the opportunity to play, you know, with this much talent is very rare. And, you know, I was coming from, you know, a premier team in the AFC before in Baltimore, you know, coming to, you know, the team that, you know, we struggled with for the last 3 years. And, you know, to now be a part of it, to be on the inside looking out, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to block for Pat. I'm excited to, you know, be in the system and get to know the guys.
Now, Orlando, I want to second what Mitch had to say. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to Chiefs Kingdom. I'm pumped to see you out there on the field. Now, you've talked about this at length, but you want to be a left tackle, and you've mentioned that several times, and it gets back to your relationship with your dad. Tell us why playing left tackle is so important to you.
Yeah, to me, you know, it's really just the emotional attachment to the position and the ability to live out the dream that I have for myself and my dad had for me. Growing up in my house, you know, like I said before, if you weren't playing left tackle, you know, on the offensive line, you know, my dad didn't like that. And so to have the opportunity to live on my dream, to play it at the highest level, to play it on an amazing team, to have an amazing quarterback and coaches and, you know, other surrounding offensive linemen with me, I'm just excited. I'm super excited for the opportunity. I wish the season was sooner, but you know, it means so much to me to be able to play it, and you know, knowing that, you know, Veach and Mr. Hunt, Coach Reed, you know, they're all giving me the opportunity to live on my dream, and I feel like I own.
Orlando, I want to ask you further about Mahomes. You saw him on the other sideline, Oklahoma, Texas Tech. And then yeah. we've been matched up against the Ravens here now for the last several years.
Yeah.
But being in the same huddle with that guy, sideline with him, What about that and how much that excites you?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's exciting. I've seen him make some crazy throws between him and Tyreek. Man, I mean, Tyreek's ended a few games for me, throughout my career, dating back to when we played Oklahoma State my freshman year. He returned that punt return. And, with Pat, man, all the crazy throws he was making in those Tech games. And, even the years before where, they weren't close games, he still was out there playing his hardest, fighting through, not coming out, staying in all 4 quarters, competing. Man, I got a ton of respect for Pat and the way that he approaches the game. I can tell that he's someone that really loves the grind. He loves to work, and he understands that the sky's the limit, and he knows how to attack it each offseason. He knows how to get better, and it just seems like each and every year from the outside looking in, man, he's someone that's consistently got better each and every year.
So you aren't the only move the Chiefs have made this offseason. Also made some free agent additions, including Joe Thuney, a great left guard for the Chiefs now, an all-pro caliber talent. With you at left tackle, him at left guard, what's the potential of the left side of this line here for the Chiefs in 2021?
Yeah, it's a ton of potential. I haven't had the opportunity to hop on a phone call with Joe yet. I've seen him in meetings and all that stuff, but he's an incredible player too, man. Obviously coming from what he did in New England, how consistent he was there. And, I remember, Marshall Yanda talking about him as when we would be watching film and prepping for games. So, he's a really, really good player. And I know that he's a dog. You know what I mean? He's a tough guy. He likes to finish his blocks, and he likes the level. So I look forward to working with him. You know what I mean? I don't want to, say too much crazy stuff, but, I'm pretty sure we're going to take care of business.
Orlando, Coach Stoops is a friend of mine. Did you not go up to him and say, "Don't punt to Tyreek Hill"? Did you tell him that?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how that sequence went. I remember we punted, and then it was a penalty. It was like roughing the kicker or something crazy. We punted like that. And I remember standing right there because I was redshirting at the time. I wasn't even on the field. And I remember the special teams coach and Coach Stoops asking, "Punt again? Do you want to punt again?" And Coach Stoops is like, "Yeah, just go ahead and punt it again. Punt it again. Tell him to pin him down. Pin him in the 10-yard line." And so the punt, the punt goes to the right location, but the punt team, everyone bubbled as if Tyreek wasn't going to catch the ball. Yeah. So, everyone was just kind of running to the spot, expecting the ball to, hit the 10 and try to stop it from going into the end zone instead of realizing this guy can return the ball. And so he caught it, I'm going to say like around the 10, 15-yard line. And, he was just gone. There was only one other time I've seen someone move that fast on the football field. And it was a few years later when I was in Baltimore my rookie year, and he caught that crosser route over CJ and Eric Weddle. I was just like, man, Tyreek is, he's a different level of fast, man.
Yeah, where was he? He was just here a minute ago. I want to ask you too. Okay, now you're going to wear red. You're going to look good in Sooner red. It's a bit different shade of red, but getting ready now physically and mentally and learning Coach Reid's offense.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to the game of football, I think for the most part, concepts are pretty much all the same no matter where you go. Your zones are your zones, your zone gap protections, your 6-man pass pros are your 6-man pass pros. It's going to be learning the new terminology, understanding the flow of, Coach Reid's calls and how they call the game, understanding Pat's flow of the game, understanding my left guards and the offensive line's flow of the game is, more so what I'm going to have to get used to. And, I'm not worried about learning the playbook and everything. The concepts are the concepts. They don't run anything here that's, too wicked. So.
So speaking of Coach Reid's offense, you were there in Baltimore when you saw Eric Fisher catch a touchdown. If your number gets dialed up, are you ready to catch a touchdown?
I am. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm probably the least athletic football player in this league, but given the opportunity, I think I can catch a football in the end zone if I'm wide open.
Right. Did you ever have the pass thrown to you, middle school, high school? Oh, you didn't think about it, did they?
Oh no. I'm a terrible athlete, man. I can't tell you how hard it is for me to run and catch a football. That is a talent to me that is so special. I don't know how guys do it for a living.
Well, what you do for a living, you do very well. And then Matt and I are just going to say it again. We'll let you go. Thanks for being with us on the show tonight to get this draft night party started. But we are so fired up that you are here. And again, welcome to the Chiefs Kingdom, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm fired up too. Thank you.
Thank you. Orlando Brown Jr., the Chiefs' newest acquisition. And again, Brett Veach, we're going to hear from Brett later in the show. We'll also hear from Travis Kelce. The whole thing about Zeus, we got the, that was his dad's nickname.
Got to figure that out.
He's 2.0. We got to figure that out. It's like Jersey, who's going to Jersey exchange. But man, so excited that Orlando Brown Jr. is part now of the Kansas City Chiefs. But it goes into now. Let's take a look at what could happen tonight. And Orlando's a great example of being a third-round pick that became a Pro Bowler. It's the same way Kelce was picked in the third round, which has been a golden round for the Kansas City Chiefs down through the years. But let's look at the rest of the draft. And honestly, I think that this discussion has to start with all of the buzz today about Aaron Rodgers and the fact that now he has stated he wants to be traded out of Green Bay. He wants to leave the Green Bay Packers. He even mentioned 3 teams, the 49ers, the Broncos, and the Raiders. But let's start with the 49ers because they made a move aggressively to go up to the 3rd spot. In this draft, kind of starts to me at number 3.
There's always some huge news on draft night, isn't there? And none bigger than Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, we'll start with the 49ers here because the draft basically starts there. We know what the Jaguars are doing. They're taking Trevor Lawrence. We know what the Jets are doing. They're taking Zach Wilson from BYU. We don't know what the 49ers are going to do. And let's just set Aaron Rodgers aside here and assume they're going to draft a quarterback because we know they're going to have a change at quarterback this year. And the 3 quarterback options there for them, if they choose to do so, are Trey Lance from North Dakota State, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. We'll go through them here. Trey Lance, a tremendous athlete, a dual-threat quarterback, 42 total touchdowns in 2019, 0 interceptions. So the guy was a scoring machine. Didn't turn the ball over ever. The thing is, that was against FCS competition. You don't know how he can make the jump to the NFL. We've seen guys do it. Carson Wentz from North Dakota State did it pretty well. But we'll see. We'll see what Trey Lance can do at the next level. He's an option there for the 49ers. Also, Justin Fields from Ohio State, one of the best players in college football the last 2 seasons. 67 total passing touchdowns in that time. That's number 2 in Ohio State history. A lot of good quarterbacks have come through Ohio State. And he was a beast in the college football playoff semifinal against Clemson. 22 of 28, 385 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 42 rushing yards. The guy was incredible. Then Mac Jones. He's the one that's getting all the buzz lately from Alabama. Very different kind of player. He's not going to run around much, but his 77.4% completion percentage was an NCAA record last year. Led the Crimson Tide to a national title. Had more than 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, just 4 picks. But when you have a player like that that's surrounded by first-round picks, it's kind of hard to figure out what they're going to do at the next level in a situation that's probably not as good. So those are the 3 options. Set Aaron Rodgers aside. I guess he's an option as well. But what they do will dictate what happens throughout the rest of the draft, and I'm very curious to see what they decide.
And the next step is AFC team, which is going to be the next turn in this draft, 5 with the Cincinnati Bengals. But that leads us into our first poll of the night. We want you to join us. You could go to Chiefs.com/poll. Which AFC matchup outside of the division are you most excited about seeing this year? Is it the Steelers again, the Titans, the Bills, Buffalo Bills are coming to Arrowhead Stadium, or the Browns? We left the Ravens out just for Orlando Brown Jr. That'll be festive going to Baltimore this year. But there's your pick of the AFC teams the Chiefs will play this year outside of the division. Which AFC matchup are you most interested in? Well, let's talk about the Bengals here. They're not on that list, but they are the number 5 slot in this draft. And to me, they're in the catbird seat for them. They don't need a quarterback. They got Joe Burrow last year. He's coming off the ACL knee rehab. But with these quarterbacks flying off the board that you alluded to, maybe other than Kyle Pitts going to Atlanta at 4, they're going to get the pick of the litter here. Yep. So, Sal, you mentioned San Francisco starts things at 3, but what about Cincinnati at 5?
Yeah, Cincinnati is very interesting, and I'll touch on Atlanta here briefly because they're at 4. They could do some different things. Atlanta could take a quarterback to learn behind Matt Ryan for a year or 2. They could try trading that pick, or they could take Kyle Pitts, who's the outstanding tight end from the University of Florida. Let's just, for sake of conversation here, assume they take Kyle Pitts. People seem to think they'll be doing that. That then leads to Cincy at pick number 5. And without a doubt, Cincinnati is not taking a quarterback. They're the first team in the draft to say that we're not taking a quarterback because they have their guy, as you said, in Joe Burrow. They took him first overall last year, and he's an outstanding young rookie. What did they do? Well, they could go offensive tackle to protect him. Of course, coming off the torn ACL, you want to protect your investment in Joe Burrow. And the guy that makes sense there is Penei Sewell, the great left tackle prospect from the University of Oregon. Or they could go to his old buddy, Joe Burrow's old buddy, and Jamar Chase from LSU at wide receiver, an electric playmaker. Let's start with Sewell. It makes a lot of sense once again because you have to protect your guy in Joe Burrow. This draft has a lot of offensive tackle depth, so maybe the Bengals think we could pick up an offensive tackle in the second round, but you worry maybe in the 20s or late or early 30s, if there starts to be a run on offensive tackles, maybe you miss out on your guy who you're projecting. So maybe they just go and cut their losses and take Penei Sewell. Or they may be tempted to take Jamar Chase, who in 2019 with Joe Burrow had some success, 84 receptions for 1,780 yards and 20 touchdowns. That connection's pretty tough to pass up.
Or they trade. They wouldn't have to move very many slots. They still get Chase, who's Burrow's LSU teammate, and then get some extra juicy picks here. But if they do pass on Sewell at 5, that rush you feel go by your house will be about 20 teams trying to get to Penei Sewell, who to me seems like the real left tackle in this draft. There's a lot of tackles, a lot of depth, but don't you think, Matt, when I'm looking at these tackles, I'm going right tackle, right tackle, right tackle, right tackle, guard, right tackle. Just natural left tackle, Sewell may be the only one or close to the only one.
I'd agree, and we'll get back to Orlando Brown Jr. here. That's why I love that trade so much, because if you're looking at some tackles maybe the Chiefs could take at 31, or maybe they trade up and try to get a guy in the teens, there's no tackle in this draft like Orlando Brown Jr., and you certainly weren't going to get one of his caliber at pick number 31. And you're right, after Penei Sewell, it's a lot of guys who could bounce out and play some tackle, but in my mind, they're not day one starting left tackles. It's guys who are guards, maybe right tackles, could bounce out to left tackle at some point in their career, but totally agree. The race will be on for Penei Sewell. Very curious to see what the Bengals do there.
Okay, the Chiefs don't have a first-round pick tonight, but the division, we're going to watch them like a hawk. And let's go to number 9. That's where the Denver Broncos are currently slated, and they get Teddy Bridgewater, okay, who's trying to race actually Emmanuel Sanders for playing against the Chiefs in the most uniforms, I think. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's in this race as well. But that being said, we have to start with the Denver discussion, Aaron Rodgers, because he has stated that Denver will be a place that he wants to go. But some think, even though they have Bridgewater and Drew Lock still there, that Denver at number 9 could take a quarterback there, depending on who slides or is left there. Or to me, it seems like they could get one of the premier defensive players in this entire draft.
I'm so interested to see what the Broncos do. And this Aaron Rodgers thing makes it even crazier because they're going in different directions and we don't know what they're going to do. And they could take a quarterback at pick number 9, see which of the quarterbacks falls to them. They could trade up with Detroit if they want to jump Carolina and try to get a guy like Justin Fields. Fields has been a guy that's been talked about to the Broncos. So they could do that. Or, as you mentioned, they could go defense. And the thing with this draft is there's so many quarterbacks going early on that it's pushing other guys down that maybe would have gone at 4 or 5. They're going at pick number 9. And my Broncos insider is my father-in-law. He's a huge Broncos fan, which is kind of weird. I know. Makes for some interesting conversation at times, but he's a huge Broncos fan. He wants Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State, at number 9. And it makes a lot of sense. 3-down linebacker with excellent size, speed, and strength. Some consider him the best defensive player in this class. And when you're facing Patrick Mahomes twice a year, you want guys like that. So Micah Parsons would make a lot of sense. Now, if they want to go cornerback, there's some options there as well, some legacy players, actually. J.C. Horn from South Carolina. He's Joe Horn's son. Everyone remember Joe Horn, of course, a great wide receiver, played with the Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints. Dane Brugler of The Athletic, a great draft expert, compares him to Aqib Talib, which we all know Aqib Talib played at Kansas and also went to the Denver Broncos for a time. Another guy is Patrick Surtain II. Of course, Patrick Surtain, the first son, he played here with the Chiefs for a while. Unanimous first-team All-American in 2020. University of Alabama, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. 2 outstanding players. The problem, Mitch, is I'm just 28 years old, and they make me feel old because I watched both of their dads play, and now apparently they're grown men playing in the NFL. I don't get that, but 2 outstanding players.
You're old? I called their games, Joe Horn and Patrick Surtain, when they were wearing Chiefs uniforms. Asante Samuel's also in this draft. Yeah. All these sons of great NFL players are in this draft. And your father-in-law's a Bronco fan.
Yep.
And you've been married less than 2 weeks, so we'll see how this is going. He was smart enough to let his daughter marry, but we got to talk about the whole Broncos.
I've converted her. That's important to say. He might not agree, but I've converted her.
I'm glad your marriage counseling went well. But if Micah Parsons is a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. A 3-down player, he can come off the edge, he can play inside. When you watch his video he's an outstanding player. All right, let's move on now in the division to the 13 slot. Again, we're just minutes away from hearing we're going to be joined by Travis Kelce, the best tight end to ever play in the National Football League. Plus, we'll hear from Brett Veach later in the show to kind of get you ready, not only for tonight, but tomorrow and Saturday and beyond. But let's go to the 13 slot. That's where the Chargers are at. They don't need a quarterback. They love Justin Herbert, and he had a terrific rookie season. But they would love to get a wide receiver or some help maybe in the offensive line. And that rush on quarterbacks early not only helps Cincinnati, how much does it help the Chargers?
Helps them a lot. And they're similar to Cincinnati in that they're one of the few teams in this upper echelon of the draft where they don't need a quarterback. They're not even in the conversation. Like you said, they have their guy in Justin Herbert. The guy's a star in the making. So Justin Herbert is their franchise guy. It's about putting pieces around him now. So you said offensive tackle and wide receiver. We'll start with offensive tackle. This is why Cincinnati and what they do is so important, because if Cincinnati takes Jamar Chase, for example, then all of a sudden Penei Sewell might fall to Chargers. And I'm pretty sure the Chargers would rush to the podium to take Penei Sewell. Now, let's say the Bengals take Penei Sewell, all of a sudden a guy like Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, he's probably the number 2 tackle in this class. He could fall to the Chargers. He makes some sense. But maybe the Lions take him if Penei Sewell goes to Cincinnati. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. The third option, though, makes some sense as well for the Chargers. Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. He's a stud, 35 starts at left tackle for the Hokies over the last 3 seasons. So those 3 guys, if any of them are there, they could make some sense for the Chargers. Now, if they can't get Sewell and maybe say, we'll get tackle later on, some wide receivers that make some sense, either of the Alabama guys. So Devontae Smith, of course, won the Heisman Trophy last year, had an incredible season with 23 touchdowns. He could fit there, I think. And also Jalen Waddle, different kind of player, very explosive, could kind of match Justin Herbert's big arm. The experts try comparing Jalen Waddle to Tyreek Hill in terms of his speed. Nobody is as fast as Tyreek Hill. I'll go on record saying that. But
Orlando Brown just said.
Yeah, exactly. But Jalen Waddle is quite fast, and you can see teams in the AFC West trying to match the Chiefs' speed. Getting a guy like Jalen Waddle would be an attempt to do that.
Neither one of those guys, though, and love them, but neither one are very physical. One of the things underrated about Tyreek Hill is just how physical he is. I mean, that dude is cut, right? We've seen his power as well as his speed. All right, that leads us to the other division rival here, and that's the Raiders, sitting at 17. They also have been listed as someone that Aaron Rodgers would be interested in being traded to. That came out earlier today. You're thinking, well, there's Derek Carr. Well, Aaron Rodgers will be going back to kind of his roots. He played at Butte Junior College, which would not be far. That was in the Bay Area now that they moved to Vegas, but still. So the Raiders enter this discussion involving Aaron Rodgers perhaps, but if they stay put at 17 and don't make that trade, they made there's some off-season moves they made, especially on defense, where they've kind of overhauled things again, and you could see a defensive stalwart falling to them.
Definitely. So when you're picking at 17, that's where it's kind of interesting. Some guys from the top 10 might fall out. You really never know what's going to happen when you're at pick number 17. You're in the middle of the draft there. One interesting name to know, in my opinion, a guy that's been kind of an interesting buzz lately is Caleb Farley, the corner from Virginia Tech. Consensus top 10 talent, if you ask the experts, but he's had some medical issues, had some back surgeries. He could fall out of that top 10, and then all of a sudden, if you're the Raiders, could he be a good value pick for you there at 17? Maybe. He could make some sense there. Another guy is linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. He's a linebacker, and he's a new age linebacker. He's a hybrid, do-it-all kind of player. He's a football player is what he is, because he does everything. He can rush the passer off the edge. He can also go on the slot and cover a slot receiver and do it pretty well. If you watch his tape, he's incredible. So once again, like I said with Micah Parsons, if you're playing Patrick Mahomes twice a year, you want players that can do lots of different things. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah could make some sense for this Raiders defense from Notre Dame. Then one guy on offense, if they choose to go offense, Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. He's a guard who could play some tackle in the NFL, but a consensus very solid guard, probably at the pro level. He could make some sense as well.
Yeah, he reminds me of a longtime Pro Bowl inside lineman. You look at those Colts guys. Elijah Vera Tucker reminds me of that. But just go back to Farley real quick. He now is an interesting story, as you mentioned, because he's had all the back trouble. He opted out late from Virginia Tech, but it leads us into a discussion we're going to have in just a few minutes with Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach in the peril or the mystery in this entire 2021 draft class. We're talking pro days, no combine. A lot of these guys opted out of the 2020 season. Some wanted to play in 2020 but had abbreviated years, if you look at what happened in the Pac-12 of the Big Ten. And so this is really a moving dartboard here. There's just a lot of taking chances, and Caleb Farley might be the exhibit A of that.
Yeah, well, and I'll mention, too, this is where the Chiefs are so lucky, because I know that we're Chiefs guys, but we have an all-star front office and an all-star scouting staff that can weather really interesting circumstances like we've been dealing with the past couple years now. A lot of organizations, it might be difficult to figure out their evaluations of guys. But when you have Brett Veach at the top and then all of his guys under him in this front office, you have the confidence and you have the trust that they know what they're doing there and sifting through all this stuff. And that's the beauty of this organization, is you can attack a draft like this with a full confidence, knowing we know what we're getting in these prospects, when maybe not every organization would know that.
And not only top line front office, but also top line athletic trainers. When you look at Rick Burkhalter, who arguably is the best in the business in the National Football League, and his staff, their job is always important. This year, maybe more important than ever, to try to get medical information when you don't have the normal medical empirical data you might have at being at the combine. So all of that, that's why the infrastructure of the Kansas City Chiefs has led this team to being a team that's played in 3 AFC Championships games, won 2 of them, and won a Super Bowl, and finished runner-up in Super Bowl 55. All right, now pressing on here, we also have a second poll that we'd like to have you be involved with. And again, we're going to hear from Travis Kelce very shortly. But let's deal with the NFC now, because this year the Chiefs will cross over and play the NFC East again. It's the exact schedule against the NFC East the Chiefs had in Coach Reid's first year in 2013, meaning the Chiefs will be going to Philly, but they'll be entertaining the Dallas Cowboys. They'll also go against the Washington football team in Washington and entertain the New York Giants. So which team, go to Chiefs.com/poll, which NFC team are you most excited about in that poll? Right now, the Packers are winning. But if Aaron Rodgers, is he going to be the quarterback? Is he going to be, because the last time Aaron Rodgers didn't get to play against Patrick Mahomes, it was Matt Moore against Aaron Rodgers here. But the 17th game coming up will be the Packers. And here at Arrowhead Stadium, and right now they're leading the poll.
That's the thing. It's several years now we've been waiting for this colossal clash of titans with Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Hasn't happened. Matt Moore played really well in that game. The Chiefs
yes, he did.
Almost won that game, but of course Aaron Rodgers had that incredible throw that ended up being the game winner in the end. So that game has not happened yet. It could happen next year if Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. Now, if Rodgers isn't there, is it Jordan Love maybe? The rookie from, not the rookie, but a couple years ago, drafted out of Utah. He could be kind of exciting, seeing what the Packers have there, kind of turning the page. But I don't know if there is a trade. Maybe they'll get another guy that will be more of a stopgap. But either way, the Packers are always a fun team to watch. I think that would be my guess no matter what.
Speaking of fun people to watch, we promised him, and here he is. He is the best tight end in the history of the National Football League. Travis Kelce joining us on our draft watch party here, presented by GEHA. And first of all, it gives Matt and me a chance to say what a joy it has been to be around you and watch you play for your whole career. But these last 3 years, Kels, have been amazing. Have you had any chance to just back up, take a breath, and think, you know what, it's been a pretty good run?
To be honest, well, first of all, it's good to see you guys, man. I haven't seen you guys since the big show, and man, I'm ready to go. And you know, we're all fired up to get this thing rocking and rolling, man. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm living in the now, man. I honestly still have a lot to try and accomplish in my career. So not quite, you know, thinking about the grand scheme of things quite yet, man. I still got a lot left on the table to get after, man.
So, Kels, I don't know why I remember this. I just do. But I remember when you were drafted, and I wasn't a Chiefs employee yet. I was still in college. I was laying on my couch just watching day 2 of the draft, and your name got called, and they were showing your highlights. And, I mean, you're just running up seams, running by people, and I'm like, this guy's pretty athletic. This guy could be pretty good. I was right. You ended up being pretty good. I'm just curious. What do you remember about being drafted by the Chiefs way back in 2013?
Oh, man. To be honest, the biggest thing that I remember is that when I got the Missouri area code number, I thought I was going to St. Louis because I had no clue that Kansas City was in Missouri. So the entire time I'm looking, I let it ring a few times too. I'm looking at it like, man, St. Louis? Come on. And no, I shortly and very quickly found out that it was Coach Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, man. And it was the biggest blessing that I ever got in my life, in my career. Coming to Kansas City has been the best thing that's ever happened in my career, man. And I'm so happy and so fortunate that I got stuck here with Coach Andy Reid and you guys, man.
You were blessed. We've been blessed, man, to have the best tight end in the NFL in NFL history. But I want to ask you about, because the dynamics of the next several days, when you got drafted on that night, and I remember it well too, Matt, but how much of a whirlwind were the next 4 to 5 days? What are these guys facing over the next 96 hours when you find out tonight or tomorrow or the next day where you're going? Now what happens?
Well, typically you get to enjoy that evening or that day, the rest of that day with your family, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing is that, you get to embrace I remember hugging my mom, watching my name get called by Big Barbosa, I believe is the big guy that called my name. And then, just from there, finding your way to Kansas City, getting excited, meeting not just the coaches, but the guys in the locker room. Typically, the rookie mini camp or the rookie week comes pretty quick. Within the first 2 weeks of you getting drafted, you're in the building and you're on the board and trying to figure out your new offense or new defense, whichever side of the ball you play, man. It's quite the roller coaster. It's quite the roller coaster. A lot of emotion, a lot of excitement. But I'll tell you what, anybody that gets a chance to come to Kansas City is gonna be sitting in a situation with a lot of motivated players coming back here with the Chiefs, and just put on your seatbelt, man, because we gotta figure out how to win another one, man.
Well, that's a nice segue into my question here for you, Travis. And that's, we know what a great player you are on the field, know the stats and the numbers, but you're also a leader on this squad. How have you kind of grown into a leader over the years since you've been here? And particularly, everyone wants to be a first-round pick, but guys that were taken on day 2 and day 3, how do you take those guys under your wing and show them how to be a Chief?
Well, the biggest thing is just coming in the building with confidence. Coming in the building with the attitude of, I'm going to get better. I'm here for a reason. I got drafted for a reason. You know what I mean? And whether I'm first round, second round, 6th or 7th, it doesn't matter where you get picked. If you got picked, that means the team that you got chosen by is giving you an opportunity to take your career to the next level. There is trust that you will do that, and it doesn't matter which round it comes. But I think that for those young guys to really, feel comfortable in their shoes, it takes leadership. A guy like Anthony Fasano, a guy like Alex Smith were those leaders when I got into the building on the offensive side of the ball, and learning from them, seeing the little things that they do, it fueled me with confidence that I can do this. How easy they went about their day, but how hard they work. It's just it's a culture that Coach Reid, Brett Veach, and the gang have all created to where, it makes it easy for guys to come in. You just have to be willing to work.
And speaking of work, one of the things that I mentioned to the Kingdom the last 3 years for sure, and you and I have talked about it, you have been an absolute warhorse. And it started with that camp back in 19. You came in on your injury rehab. But what you've learned and what you teach these younger guys, because now you've mentioned you've flipped the roles here, about preparing to play physically, mentally, emotionally, and how much it's a 12-month of year business. What about just being available and preparing yourself to be on that field and never missing any time unless we held you out like that week 17 game?
Well, first of all, you got to be extremely fortunate, man. I've been without a doubt fortunate that I haven't been hit with too many injuries to keep me off the field. And a little bit of that is just, playing through some discomfort, playing through some things that, you just have to, and that comes with the job. We all pick to play this game, and it's not easy to play, man. It's not easy to play at all, but I've been fortunate enough to stay on the field. And then on top of that, I've been fortunate enough to be in Coach Andy Reid's system. I think Coach Reid does an unbelievable job of taking care of his guys week to week. I know the first couple of years he had to create the culture, and they were a little bit easier. I mean, a little bit harder than the past couple of years, but he's lighting the load just because he knows the kind of leaders that he has in the building. He knows we're coming to work whenever we clock in. It's time to go, and there's no messing around about it. Just because I said that, watch, this year is going to be the hardest year that we got coming. I'm biting my tongue already. I just know Coach Reid's watching this, man. He's but like I said, man, the culture's there, the energy is there. For the young guys, just come in willing to work, and I think everything will take care of itself, man.
I just heard the horn blow. Get on the field.
I want to ask you about that culture and that energy, because you guys are special and we recognize it because you're never complacent with success. You're always hungry. And we saw after Super Bowl 54, but even maybe more so after Super Bowl 55 and what happened in that game. You guys are hungry for more. And I know you're not in the locker room yet, but just in your group texts and what you're talking about with the guys, tell us what the energy is like, what the hunger is like going into next season.
I'll tell you right now, man, I want this next one more than I wanted the first one, man. Going into it the way we did this last game, last season, it leaves a real sour taste in your mouth, man. And I still apologize to every single Kansas City Chiefs fan I run into, man. Anybody that watched that game, it was embarrassing, but at the same time, it fuels you. It fuels you because you know you're better and you know you can show the world different, and you can prove yourself. And that's the biggest thing that we can control is going out there and just being ourselves and getting better because of it.
Kels, what if the Chiefs take a tight end here in the next couple of days? They got 6 picks right now in the second round. What if they take a tight end and add to your room?
Let's bring him in, man. Let's mold him into the culture. Let's get him out there making plays. I'm all for it, man. I love the tight end room. Everybody in the room that's been here since the get-go, I call brothers and I call family. And it ain't going to change if we get a new guy that's supposed to be coming in and being that dude for the next couple of years, man. I'm completely fine with helping anybody get better. I was just talking to Kyle Pitts, going to be a superstar in this league, about mentorship and what that means. And he embodies the tight end position. I mean, he's a guy that could have he's athletic enough at his size to probably sneak in the wide receiver room and play anywhere on the field. But he loves the tight end position. And there's something to be prideful and just proud of when you're in the tight end room, because you're asked to do so many different things. And that's the biggest thing for me is, help this position grow. I didn't have the success, and I don't have all the fun out there on the field without a guy like Tony Gonzalez or a guy like Vernon Davis. I mean, you name it. The guys before me that have blazed the trail and given me an opportunity to have that much trust in an offense. You name it, man. And I just been very fortunate. I just want to pass that torch.
Pitt sounds like somebody else I know that's on this interview.
Yeah, sure does.
One final question before we let you go. Orlando Brown Jr., his dad was Zeus when he played. Now he's Zeus Jr., you're Zeus. Have we talked about this Zeus thing at all? Who's the Zeus here?
Listen, I mean, he has the history, so he's the real Zeus, man. I give up, man. That's him all the way. You guys can try and find something else for me, or just keep calling me baby.
We'll work on that.
I wouldn't love the baby Zeus, but if it's baby Zeus compared to that guy, I mean, I'm good as long as we're on the same squad.
We're going to let you go, but this is tradition. I should have started it this way with them, but I didn't. But it's Kels.
My God, the voice.
There it is.
There it is. Tradition, my friend. Hey, thanks for being with us tonight. And it is such a blessing to have you wear number 87. The best tight end in the NFL ever is a Chief. God bless you, brother, and hope to see you soon.
We're still working to be the best, baby. Matt, Mitch, have a good one. Enjoy the draft.
Thanks, Draft.
Thanks, Kels. Wow, what a guy. And it's easy for all of us to take for granted that he is on this team and we're watching him play every week, and that when we get out of the known COVID rules, that we're around that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being around Hank Aaron, right? It's like the greatest of all time, and he's on this team.
Yeah, and it's funny, he was talking about Kyle Pitts room. Travis Kelce is a wide receiver, and we talk about how great he is. We don't compare him to tight ends anymore. We compare him to wide receivers because he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. We're so blessed to have him as a Chief. And on our Fantasy Draft podcast, which if you haven't watched, go check out on the Chiefs YouTube page and on Apple and Spotify and all that, wherever you find your podcasts. I mentioned this. We talk about these great teams in the 60s and all these Hall of Famers on the Chiefs, and those are great players. I'm pretty sure in 10, 20 years, we'll look back on Sarah and be like, man, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes are all on the same team. Future Hall of Famers. We're very blessed.
That's a great point. Now let's get into some of the other. We're going to get into some day 2 possibilities because the Chiefs have 2 picks tomorrow, unless they trade it in the first round. We're going to ask Brett Veach about that very shortly. We are going to talk to the Chiefs general manager as he gets ready to monitor this draft. Could they jump back into the first round? But let's talk about what's happened to this point, because it's not just Orlando Brown Jr., where we started the show. Let's go to the other additions here. You mentioned Thuney earlier in that interview, but there are others that merit discussion tonight, because that has helped Brett Veach form his board for the 2021 draft.
Yeah, and we'll start with the offensive line here. Once again, the beauty of this year's draft and what we've done in free agency and the trade market is we've set ourselves up to truly follow our board and take best player available. Sure, there are spots on the roster where the Chiefs want to add depth, but if the Chiefs had to go play a game tomorrow, they could. And they'd probably win. So the beauty of this draft, once again, is you can go into it not necessarily having to address needs, but just taking great players and adding them to the depth of your team. And that's because of primarily what they've done with this offensive line. And we'll talk about other positions here in a moment. But think about the changes they've made up front. Orlando Brown, we've talked all about him, one of the top young tackles in all of pro football. He's your left tackle moving forward, just 24 years old. Signing Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in all of football. He's versatile. He can play center if you need him to, and he is durable. He has not missed a game in his NFL career. Then some other under-the-radar moves, signing a guy like Austin Blythe, reliable and durable once again, an option at center. Started 47 of 40 games over the last 3 seasons. Pro Football Focus ranked him as the number 13 overall center in the NFL last season, and has a ton of experience at guard as well. So you're seeing durability and versatility are 2 major keys here. Then some other guys like Kyle Long, bringing him in. He's someone that when he was playing a couple years ago was one of the top guards in the sport. Could also play a little bit of tackle. He had some injuries, but now he's had a year off, had a chance to rest his body. See what you get there. That's a low risk, high reward kind of signing there, getting a guy like Kyle Long. And you're adding them into a group that's getting Lucas Niang back from his opt-out. He's an exciting 3rd round pick from last year out of TCU. And also Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, of course, was fighting COVID up in Canada, and he's coming back. So this room has a lot of exciting options. I can't wait to see what they can do, but by getting all that depth and all that versatility and durability and talent over the course of this free agency period and the trade period, you set yourself up for the draft where you don't have to go take an offensive tackle in the 2nd round because you have a lot of talent already in-house.
And those fans of the Belldozer who loved him in 2019, he's back. The Chiefs got Blake Bell back. Yes, all you fans at Wichita Bishop Carroll High School. Yes, he's back. So the Belldozer joins that tight end room with Travis Kelce. But remember how he caught fire in the 2019 playoffs. Yeah. And he's an asset to get back to this football team. Again, we're talking here at our draft day party, draft watch party, brought to you by GEHA. And in just a few minutes, we're going to hear from Chiefs general manager Brett Veach. One thing about Brett Veach is he's aggressive. He does not wait. He doesn't play dot to dot. He's going to sit there. If he wants it, he's going to go get it. And that's why, even with just 6 picks left in this draft, who knows what Brett's going to do, but he's going to be aggressive. We do know that.
He's definitely going to be aggressive. And one example of that, to get back to the free agency stuff, is Jarran Reed, one of the top pass rushing defensive tackles in the NFL over the last couple of years. He becomes available, and Brett Veach pounces on him and brings him in. Think what he's going to do for the middle of this defense. Once again, one of the top pass rushing defensive tackles in all of football. Over the last 3 seasons, he ranks 7th in the NFL among all defensive tackles in terms of sacks with 19. Number 2 on that list, Chris Jones. Those 2 will be right next to each other in this defensive line. That's going to be a very fun duo to watch. Love Brett Veach's aggressiveness, getting guys like Jarran Reed, going out and getting guys like Orlando Brown, because once again, like we talked to Kels about, the Chiefs are not complacent with success. In going to 3 straight AFC title games, 2 straight Super Bowl appearances, winning one of them, that's a lot of fun. A lot of organizations would ride on that. The Chiefs are constantly trying to get better, and not just with good players, with great players, and we're seeing that this offseason.
Leads us to our third poll question of the night. Of course, earlier we asked you which AFC matchup outside of the division are you most interested in for 2021. Then we asked you about the NFC matchup. Last word we had, the Packers were leading by a landslide. A third one would be, though, what's your favorite first-round draft pick in Chiefs history? Go to Chiefs.com/ your favorite first-round draft pick. Mahomes, Derek Thomas, Tony Gonzalez, or Buck Buchanan.
It's pretty good.
People got to understand Buck Buchanan. When you did not trade for me, I was distraught. We just posted that. People could look at it, but I was distraught when you wouldn't make that trade. But I got to imagine, I think, who the leader in the clubhouse will be on that decision. Yeah. Again, I remember at this night in 2017, and the world started spinning in a different direction when the Chiefs made Patrick Mahomes their quarterback.
Yeah, it's tough to vote against Patrick Mahomes in that capacity, not just because of what a great player he is, but the culture has changed here. It was already changing for years before he got here, but he really helped put it into overdrive. And to make this team not just a great team, but the team in the NFL, which is what the Chiefs have developed to in the past couple of years, Patrick Mahomes is a huge reason why. Derek Thomas is a pretty good pick too, and I'm sure a lot of people a bit older than me would pick Derek Thomas. I wasn't alive when Derek Thomas was drafted. I remember watching the tail end of his career, but Patrick Mahomes, very tough to vote against him.
Oh, the other three, other than Patrick, are all in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Not
good.
bad. But we do have an update. What was the update? Patrick Mahomes, I believe we could maybe declare him the winner. Not sure yet. Your chance to vote. 75%.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes.
It's not terribly
Interesting.
surprising.
No, I was thinking the 90s, but that's okay. Those other guys, as we mentioned in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, pretty good. But you're going to go to Chiefs.com/poll. Again, what's your favorite AFC matchup? Side of the division this year, your favorite NFC matchup, some tasty NFC games this year in 2021, and then your favorite Chiefs first-round draft pick up all time. Again, we're going to have Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach on in just a few minutes. He's going to take some time with us, to talk about what's going to go ahead. But you can imagine the buzz. They're going to be watching it, as you and I will be, to look and see at the possibilities and what's going to happen, which could be a crazy, crazy night.
Mm-hmm.
In this first round. That's at least what most of the pundits are predicting.
I'd love to be in that war room and just see how these guys watch the draft, because at the end of the day, if you work in pro football, you're a fan at your core. So you're watching the draft just like a fan would as well. And as you talk about with Brett, I'm always interested in seeing, even though the Chiefs don't pick until pick number 58, how does the 10th overall pick affect what's going to happen at 58? It's really a ripple effect that even though it's dozens of picks away, what happens early in the draft affects what will be available for the Chiefs later on. So it should be a lot of fun. I have a question for you. What would your answer be to the AFC question about the opponent for next year? I think I know my answer.
Outside of the division?
Yeah.
It'll be the Bills.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
That's going to be, there's just too much of that game left over, the AFC Championship game. And yeah. We're looking forward to that one. But what a great schedule this year. All
Definitely.
right. We did have a chance to sit down with Brett Veach and get his thoughts just minutes before the 2021 NFL draft starts. And now we get a chance to talk to the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs, Brett Veach. And first of all, Brett, thanks for being with us tonight. It's a busy night. It's been a busy day. It's been a busy week. And honestly, you started the draft last Friday when you made the Orlando Brown Jr. trade. What about getting that deal done and the timing of getting that deal done that set you up for the next several days?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was no secret this offseason. We really wanted to attack the offensive line, and we made it a priority to go out there and really identify a top-tier interior offensive lineman, wanted to get a top-tier offensive tackle, so we were able to knock that out of the park right off the bat with Joe Thuney, and then it was just a matter of us being patient, and we were prepared to go into the drafts, and we had a couple different game plans, but once Orlando became available to us, it was something that we just couldn't pass up.
And Brett, as excited as the Chiefs Kingdom was about getting Orlando Brown Jr. and his potential at left tackle, they were as excited that you get another second-round pick, and the fact that you end up getting that 58th pick. What about getting that extra second-round pick and getting the deal done?
Yeah, that was certainly a big part of the whole deal. I think sitting down there at 31, and that's the downside of being a good team every year, just having picks that are down the board there. But sitting there at 31, I mean, it's kind of one of those uncharted territories where we think there'll be similar value there at 58 and 62. So when we were going through the process before we executed the Orlando Brown trade, I mean, we had 6 to 8 guys on the board, and as we start going through our mock drafts, I mean, there was the thought process of, hey, listen, 2 or 3 of these guys might be there at 58 or 62. So knowing that there's a good chance we can get someone that was potentially in play at 31 all the way down at 58 just kind of shows you that the draft has kind of unique cutoff points. I think that there was 14 to 16, 17 guys there. Another cutoff point, and I think, as I said in the pre-draft presser, I think the hot spot of this draft is really that early to mid 2 to mid 3, late 3. So having 2 picks in those rounds or in that zone there will really be beneficial for us.
So it's exciting to have Zeus, the other Zeus on this team, and then to also have those 2 picks in the second round. But what would you tell the Chiefs Kingdom now? Matt and I will be following the draft as well as the Kingdom, but looking at these first 57 picks and kind of drifting here with the board, what would you tell the Kingdom and how you guys are going to be looking at that and how you could react?
Well, I would say that get together with your friends tonight and kind of see how it shakes out. There'll be 32 players taken off the board, and as soon as those players are selected, or I should say as soon as Tampa Bay picks there at 32, then the fun just starts for us. So we'll get together late at night and we'll redo the board, knowing that we have two picks in that second round there. So it'll just be a matter of seeing where the board goes and then having a lot of fun tonight where we get to restack the board and put a game plan together. But we certainly feel confident there'll be 2 really good options for us there at 58 and 63, or 62. Is it 63? 62? One of those picks, right?
Yeah, it's right in there, man. Sweet spot.
Yeah.
Hit it out.
Yeah.
Unless you jump back into the first round tonight.
That won't happen. That won't happen.
All right.
No, not tonight.
You mentioned Tooney earlier, but what about the other free agents you've been able to add and how that's helped you set up the board, but then looking at the roster going into 2021?
Yeah, well, we certainly put a priority on both fronts, and as you mentioned, bringing in Tooney, then Orlando Brown and Kyle Long, and then on the defensive side, bringing in Jaron Reed, and you can never have enough of those guys on the offensive line, defense line. But I think more importantly for us, as you mentioned, it really just provides flexibility. I don't think now we're pigeonholed into having to go tackle or having to go to serve. And I think now, again, having those 2 second-round picks, we can just let the board play out and, really just stick to that philosophy of just taking the best player available, and we're excited about that.
And you get Blake Bell back. I mean, he was very productive at the end of 2019, and to get him back in the fold helps that tight end room, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. And when Blake came in here, helped us win a Super Bowl, and he was the guy that when we signed, he fit right in day one. He has a great rapport with Coach Melvin and Trav in that tight end room, and certainly a great rapport with the quarterback. So we're excited about him, and that's another example, Mitch, of an acquisition that just allows you to be flexible throughout the duration of the draft.
All right, let's look ahead to Saturday, because we always try to tell people, I mean, don't just tune out after Thursday or Friday, but you have crushed it. L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th round, Armani Watts in the 4th round. You get Mike Dana last year in the 5th round. You look at Rashad Fenton, Darwin Thompson in the 6th. You get Allegretti in the 7th. What about this draft as you examine it, and what can happen with the picks that you have remaining in those later rounds?
I think those later rounds really speak to the depth of your own scouting staff, and we take a lot of pride in those rounds 4, 5, 6, 7 in free agency, and we're always picking late in every round. I would say in general, I mean, usually the top 7,500 players they're placed differently throughout the league, but I would say most 32 teams ballpark have those guys in the top 3 rounds. You talk about 75 to 100, but once you get past that 100 mark, there's a big discrepancy in where teams value players. And, we take a lot of pride that we spend as much time as on a 6th, 7th round pick as we do a 1st, 2nd round pick. And again, that goes back to the work our scouts do throughout the course of the season, logging information, constantly going back and reviewing, bringing our coaches into the mix, and having them kind of help us with some of these late round stacks. But again, we put a lot of work in that late round free agency, and for us, and I know my staff, that's really the fun day, Saturday. I mean, listen, all 3 days are fun, but I think, speaking for myself and probably my staff too, I think we take a lot of pride and have the most fun on Saturday.
And that Saturday, the draft, I mean, when the draft ends, the adventure begins, because you've been able to win a Super Bowl with guys like Ben Neiman and Byron Pringle. You get to Super Bowl 55 with a guy like Turk Wharton. None of those guys were drafted. So to push this forward, then what does this class look like in the potential undrafted free agents?
Well, I mean, your board's going to have to be really good. I think this class isn't probably as deep as years prior, and I think we kind of, Mitch, we talked about that, having the COVID shortened season and then having some of these small schools not have a season. I think a lot of these seniors had the opportunity to go back to school. So whether that be a 5th-year senior at Alabama or a Division II or Division I AA player having the opportunity to go back to school, potentially raise their draft stock and get their degree, I think you're seeing probably a bigger drop-off. So I think, guys that were in the 6th, 7th round last year are probably in the 4th, 5th round this year. So again, it all goes back to just the work and the detail that you have in those late round boards, because when you hit free agency, you're always, they're not really free agents in our mind. These are guys that we go after, that we have in our draft board, that these guys are valued 6th, 7th round pick. A guy like Turk Wharton, as you mentioned, or Ben Neiman. These guys, we didn't label these guys as free agents. We labeled these guys as late-round draftable prospects. So, again, it just goes back to making sure that late-round stack is on point and we're dialed in there.
And final question, Brett. Just how crazy has this been? Opt-outs, some seasons, no seasons, pro days, but no combines. I mean, this has been such a crazy year. What has that meant in trying to be as thorough as you can, considering the circumstances?
Well, it certainly put a lot of stress on us. Probably no one more so than Rick Burkholder. The medicals were a little bit challenging. They didn't get to have a combine, and they did allow 150 players to go there. Some made it, some didn't. So it puts a lot of stress on your medical team. You know, the tape was limited, but again, I feel good about where we are in the evaluation process, and our guys were certainly grinding through the tape work. Our coaches did a great job of helping us, but there was a lot of stress on our medical staff, both Rick and his team, and Mike Monaco and his team of physicians there. But fortunately for us, Mitch, we're pretty good in that area, and we have really good docs to fall back on, and I feel like we're in a really good place for this weekend.
All right, go get him. It's fun to watch you attack the next several days. And thanks for getting the Chiefs Kingdom, man, as being the winningest team in the NFL, really, for the last 3 years.
Always a pleasure, Mitch. And keep your draft Bible ready. I'll have to give you a call, and you have to give me some pointers there on Saturday, all right?
You got it, man.
All right, take care, bud.
Man, I love that guy. He makes it happen, doesn't he?
Sure does.
All right, let's look at the day 2 possibilities here quickly. The Chiefs are sitting at pick 58 and pick 62. Where do you think you're going here? Maybe wide receiver. Dyami Brown comes to mind.
Yeah, Dyami Brown's a really exciting player, and I'll just note that the second round is going to be really exciting because there's a ton of talent in that late second round, early third round area, and the Chiefs have 2 picks there. And Dyami Brown could make a lot of sense. He was a deep threat at the University of North Carolina. Each of the last 2 years averaged more than 20 yards per reception. That would play with Patrick Mahomes, I think. 8 career touchdowns of 40 or more yards. Now, here's the thing. He's not just a deep threat. He's physical enough. A lot of the draft experts believe he can grow into more of an X wide receiver who can be physical and a boundary wide receiver. So it could make a lot of sense there. Dane Brugler, one of the draft experts, compared him to Stephon Diggs. So we'll love to have a guy like that on this offense.
Yeah, well, that'll work. We talked with Travis Kelce early in the show about adding to the tight end room. So let's quickly look at that in maybe just a couple of seconds. Tommy Tremble comes to mind out of Notre Dame, be a great compliment to Kelce.
Yeah, he's a physical tight end. He could be almost an Anthony Sherman type because he played a lot of H-back and fullback at Notre Dame. A very physical blocker, though, and also kind of underutilized as a receiving target, but he can do it. I believe he could be a pretty decent receiver at the NFL level. A lot of the draft guides say that he'll probably be a better pro than he was a college player, which is exciting because he was pretty good in the college ranks. So Tommy Tremble could make a lot of sense. I think Coach Reed would love a player like Tommy Tremble. Another guy totally different at the tight end position, but would make some sense in this offense, is Brevin Jordan from the University of Miami. Blazing speed, big-time speed from this guy. He's not much of a blocker at this point in his career, but he's a receiver for sure. Looked like a running back when he first arrived on campus at Miami. Really thickened out, has a lot of size to him, and can run guys over, jump over guys. He's a guy that is a yard after catch kind of player. Really exciting to see what he could do in this offense.
You know, he's not a tight end, but he reminds me of Deebo Samuel. His body is the 49ers wide receiver, Deebo Samuel. Remember him from Super Bowl 54. All right, finally would be a local kid, and that would be Jabril Cox, who played as a graduate transfer at LSU. He's Raytown South, but he's an inside linebacker. And the Chiefs could take an inside linebacker that could help from day 1 in the second round this year.
Yeah, he's a very exciting player, primarily because he's kind of a hybrid linebacker of sorts as well. He can get after the quarterback, but also go out in coverage. Looks like a corner sometimes when he's out in coverage. And he's exciting because he went to North Dakota State for 3 years and was a superstar. Then he transferred to LSU as a grad transfer to challenge himself. And I really respect guys that do that because it would be really easy to ride on your laurels that where you went to school originally, you were a great player there. To go somewhere else and challenge yourself says a lot about you as a player and you as a man, and he succeeded at LSU and was a great player for them. A ball hawk, had 3 interceptions. He'd be a lot of fun in this defense.
As we wrap it up, one final poll. Again, go to Chiefs.com/poll. What position do you want to take in the second round? Your choice is wide receiver, offensive line, defensive back, defensive line. We want to hear from you. Matt, thank you, man. Let's go. We're going to be doing this all weekend now. Stay right with us because we're doing this tomorrow. We're going to be doing this also throughout the weekend. So a lot of fun. Here we go.
A lot of fun. It's the first round. Enjoy the draft. It's the marquee event of the offseason. We've been waiting months for this moment. It's finally here. Enjoy it.
He's Matt McMullen, the creator of the Matt Stat. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Let's go, Chiefs Kingdom. The blood is back in our face as we roll towards Super Bowl 56.